Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box of Knowledge. A channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the lived reality trauma, complex trauma and removal trauma and what it creates and what it means to come from that base. But I want to bring forward what I've learned through my own personal experiences and my many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner, with the simple hope that something you may learn or hear here will not only be supportive in improving the quality of your lives and your healing journey, but also can build the base for the much needed conversations we all need to start to have so that we can improve the quality not only of our own lives, but the lives of those around us and create the connections that we need to grow in understanding. Now, yes, this is the next video in the adoption series, and I want to follow on from the last one in pulling apart a little more that emotional white noise. Remember how in the last video I was talking about when we go through trauma and being removed and replacement and all that is trauma. When we go through trauma, our nervous system gets wired to only acknowledge the peaks and troughs. If we're looking at the physical process of experiencing emotion and feelings and interactions and connections, all the stuff that teaches our nervous system to feel. If we look at it in a sound wave analogy, our nervous system gets hardwired to recognize the peaks and troughs, because within that is the potentials of threat and of harm. And we become completely desensitized to all the bits in the middle, which is that, the emotional white noise. And I want to pull apart a little more. Again, from an adoption perspective, it's a little more unique because we have that added layer of for an infant or a young child having to develop cognitive capacities to be able to interpret how to fit in and be part of a non-biological family that's raising them, and to process everything that led up to that. So many people forget everything that happens when you take an infant or a young child away from their biological family. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on before they're placed. And that has to be processed, interpreted, regardless of age. Even a newborn infant still has to process and interpret what is happening to them. All of that becomes a trauma vessel, for want of a better analogy, that has to be parked somewhere, because an infant and a young child does not have the capacity to not only mentally process it, because the mental components are underdeveloped when you're looking at infants and young children. The higher brain functions haven't even formed yet. But also neurologically, there's no way for an infant or a young child to process it. And that's why it is so extremely common for people that have gone through significant pre-verbal early childhood trauma to have no capacity to remember their early childhood. And trust me, when you do break through that, the price tag is pretty high. Or if you, like in my circumstances, I've always remembered it. It's never left, but it's not something I can process. It's just sensations that are constantly present. The way I've explained it is, I remember my mother screaming when I was ripped from her being born. And that scream never leaves me. I viscerally feel it within my entire physiology every day. And that's been every day of my entire life. Nothing I have done, even in the days of when I was an alcoholic and so forth, even in those days, none of it never left me. And I know others that have the same. But I know so many others that also, it's a complete void. But to our nervous system, it's not a void. And that's another component as part of this emotional white noise that drives our nervous systems desensitizing to all the little interactions and focusing only on finding and recognizing the big ones. Now, the reason this is so important, and I cannot stress this enough, in the world that is adoption, so many of our friendships and relationships get to this place of just grey. There isn't the intensities of connection, there isn't the physical interactions to the degree that other people who have not gone through this have. And yeah, it's normalized in our society, especially in relationships and marriages. To go, well, the excitement's left, years ago. We just do what we do for our family and get by. I don't accept that. And I don't think any of us should. And part of the motivation for this channel is I want to explore ways to wake that up. And part of that is understanding where it came from. And for adoptees, it comes from our nervous system being taught at such an early stage, or it develops, not taught, it develops at such an early stage, not to be able to acknowledge or interact with or interpret that emotional white noise. And the only way we can is to have the physical interactions within that emotional white noise long enough and often enough, with us being aware that we need to pay attention and value that. And over a long period of time, we will start to slowly break through, and our nervous system will start to develop the neural ways of processing and interacting with those individual little moments. And the moments I'm talking about are the moments of acknowledgement, not just of us, but of the people we are connected and interacting with. The moments of recognition that teach our nervous system that we are part of a group, so we are safe. And we have the support and resources we need to overcome this obstacle that is in front of us, or to explore a potentiality to create something new. All the key components of a secure attachment lie within our nervous system being able to interact with and process and understand and interpret in a positive way all those neurological interactions within that emotional white noise. That is the way we become a person and have the secure attachments, and we are part of our life. And we need to be consciously aware of what trauma took from us, so that we will value giving the time of day to value these little moments when we can become aware of them. It's like if you go into a store, if you have a 30-second friendly conversation with a shopkeeper or a cashier, that's an acknowledgement of their existence and an acknowledgement of your existence. You value their help and support with what you're doing, purchasing from their store, and the way they're helping you with your groceries or helping you with your questions. And you acknowledge their knowledge and their worth to that business, and they grade your safety. Well, I am valuable in this business because these people like me, that I'm serving and doing a good job. They're acknowledging you because you're interacting, and they value that you've acknowledged them. Those are the moments that we need to teach our nervous system to recognize all the time. Because when we take those moments back into our home, to those interactions with our friends, and particularly in our romantic relationships, those are the ones that keep friendships and romantic relationships healthy. Without them, once the newness wears off and the peaks and troughs become softened into that white noise, if our nervous system doesn't recognize them, our nervous system doesn't acknowledge them. And if our nervous system doesn't acknowledge them, we're not acknowledging all the little nuances of our relationship, and our partners recognize that. And over time, it pretty much kills the relationship. Either to where it's just an emotional grey relationship, like so many have, or it ends it. They go off and find somebody else. As I said, I don't want to accept that is normal, and I want people to understand what creates it, and particularly on this, these videos, is because of where it creates it from the experiences of being an adoptee, and through having these sorts of interactions and understandings, these difficult conversations, to be able to realize our part in the mix. And to have to go back and look at what our removal took from us, to explore it a little more and start to create ways of undoing what it's taken from us, is the goal for this channel, and everything I've tried to do for the last three decades. is to point out the little things in every moment of our day that are so key to our healing, and to us being part of a family and community, which is what we all need to heal from trauma. Without it, we can be, if we had hundreds of millions of dollars and blew it on every therapist and all the God and man, we were still only learning what we needed to come back to build a family base that can support our nervous system to co-regulate the heal, to get our nervous system to a place where it emotionally prioritizes what we need to heal, building those neural interactions of safe belonging and connection. Everything that an infant does and a young child does growing up in a biological and safe and healthy family. Now remember, and in the next video I'll go in a little deeper, but remember the layer that we also have to understand that plays a part is the fog, that component of we had to build a person to fit into a non-biological family, an interpretation of who we are, an interpretation of what they need from us to be part of that family. We need to understand that part as well, because we need to find a way to integrate what we are able to from that, but we also need to find a way to have the courage to let go of what we can. That is another part, and I'll get into that in the next video, and that one is extremely difficult to explain, because within it is learned responses, not actual neurological responses. It's another step. And the moment we observe something, we're bringing in cognitive components which separates us from actually feeling. And the whole goal that our nervous system needs to heal is to actually feel safe, to feel acknowledged, to feel valued, and to feel how to be part of. We get there, we're healthy, we're happy, we're prosperous, we're healed. And it is possible if we have these conversations and build the ecology to create that. I really hope you guys understand where I'm coming from with this, and I really hope it's valued. I love your guys' comments and feedback. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time.